Hi everyone and welcome to this new video. My name is Susanne and today I want to make a daily spread in my bullet journal with you. And for that I want to use products from AB Studio and I want to show you the Distress Oxide Swipe technique that I really love to use for creating backgrounds. I've shown it already quite a few times on my Instagram page if you follow me there on the Susie's Craftery, but I thought it would be also nice to show it here in video and explain you how I do it. So that are we going to watch today, but before we do that I want you to ask if you like my videos, please give them a thumbs up and don't forget to subscribe to my channel if you didn't do it yet with hitting the subscription button below this video. Now let's go watch the tutorial and enjoy watching! So let's get started. This is my notebook from Midori. It's an MD notebook. And I start off with some rice paper from AB Studio. I really love using rice papers in my journal because they are so nice and thin, and when you use them it doesn't make your journal immediately so thick. So I really like it. And I must say I'm working with a rice paper from AB Studio for almost a year right now. And I must say I really like the quality of it. I think the prints are really beautifully printed, so the images are in high quality. And also the rice paper is a little bit thicker than, for example, if you compare it to Stamperia. And I think, it's easier to process this rice paper. The cutting is easier and the ripping also, I think. So I really like using it. And now the rice paper is in the right size. I'm going to use the Distress Oxide to create a background. And I use speckled egg, and as you can see I swipe it to the page. So I take the pad and I just swipe it over the page. I do it very lightly because if you press too hard you get really thick layers of ink. And I use my blending tool to bring the ink a little bit more to the right of the paper so the left side of the paper is fully covered in the ink. As you can see, when I lift my notebook the ink is still shiny because it's not dry yet. I noticed that in this journal with fountain pen friendly paper the ink takes a little longer to dry. Before this journal I always used a paper 24 journal and the paper is a little bit comparable to Archer and Olive. And I noticed in this journal, in this MD notebook, that the ink also applies much smoother. It feels like the paper is much more smooth than compared to the paper 24 journal. The advantage that it's taking longer to dry for the ink is that you can still blend it, so you can still work it out. I applied the weathered wood over the speckled egg and I thought the lines were a bit too dark, so I used my blending tool to blend the colors a bit together to get the result that I wanted. And after that I use my heating tool, that one is also from Ranger, to dry the ink. You can also let it dry by air, but it just takes a little longer. I just like to use this heating tool so it speeds up the process a little. And now it's time to glue the rice paper to the journal. And I just use a glue stick, and a little tip is if you use rice paper, use as less glue as possible, otherwise the paper gets really wrinkly. So I use the minimum amount of glue to stick it to the page. And this stencil is also from AB Studio and I will use my Finnabair metallic wax. And I use just a makeup application brush or sponge to apply the wax. I think these makeup sponges are the perfect tool to apply the wax to your paper. You can find them super cheap in the drugstore. I just choose the cheapest and they do the job, as you can see. And at first I applied the color white gold, and after that I will use some green brocade and also some emerald. And I just applied with the same sponge, and I really like to mix the colors a little, so I apply it a bit like randomly, just how I think it's good, how I feel a little bit. But the effect that I want to approach is that you see the green a little bit shining through the gold. So it gives a little bit of a playful effect. I will also link the brands and all the colors in the description box below this video, so if you like to use anything that I'm using you can find it there. And I use the same process on the right page of the spread. I also use the same colors through the stencil. I always like to create like balance in my spreads, and I personally always try to achieve that with using a bit like the same colors or some same techniques on the left and the right pages of my spread, so it looks a bit more in balance. And these are die cuts from AB Studio also. And there are snippets with quotes on it and some butterflies, and I took a matching quote with how I felt at the moment. It says, "A flower blossoms for its own joy." And I thought it was such a beautiful quote, so yeah, I thought it was really also matching with the spread and how I felt at the moment. And I picked this one. And right now I'm cutting a label from Classici. I really love these labels. I use them almost in all my spreads because I think they're perfect for layering, especially when you cut out the middle and the edges from it, then it gives such a subtle effect on your page. And right now I'm a bit moving around what I have. And these are some other die cuts. They are with all flowers. And I thought these were also matching color-wise with the spread. So I pick only with the blue ones. There are blue flowers and pink flowers, and I only pick the blue ones. And as you can see, there are some with small ones with just one flower, but there are also a little bit like bouquet-like die cuts. I think these are really, really beautiful. And I keep moving the items around till I'm happy with how it's laying. And in this process I always follow my feeling. Actually, in all the journaling I follow my feeling. Sometimes I think of colors, how it's matching, or like as I said before, like I try to bring a bit like balance in my spread. But I think the most relaxing part of journaling is just following your feeling and lose yourself a little bit in it. And get into some kind of trance-like state. It's almost like meditative, at least how I feel it. And I really find it so relaxing. I wonder if you also work like that, or if you approach it differently. And I must say, right now I'm really busy in my daily life. We are going to have a huge renovation within 2 weeks. So we need to empty the complete living room. It's almost like moving, I have the feeling. Because there's so much stuff we need to do still, and we need to do it bit by bit because we're also both working, of course, and we have a child which we need to take care of and need to give little attention also. So journaling is moved a little bit lower in my priority list, and I must say I also really miss it when I don't do it for a while. And this spread I made, I think 1 week after the last spread I made. And normally I journal almost daily or every other day. So it's a bit different right now, but I'm still enjoying it a lot when I find the time. And also making videos I really missed. Because I really love sharing my journal process with you, and also the process of making videos, like the editing and talking it in. I really enjoy, honestly. But hopefully after 1 month or so I will have more time and can upload a little bit more regular, and also on my Instagram page. And for now I'm just enjoying with what I have. And while I was chatting about our renovation, I sticked everything to the page that I had laying on the page. And maybe it's also nice to tell why I love the die cuts from AB Studio. The reason is that they are really nice and thin. They are made from thick paper. And I think it's perfect for journaling because it doesn't make your journal thick. You can still create like a lot of layers without everything getting like super chunky. And the sticker that I'm cutting right now is from Being Faye or Windry R. And I always like to cut off the white edges because I think sometimes they are too thick, and I just find it looking too distracting. I always like to cut a bit of like huge chunks of white borders. I think it just looks more beautiful that way, but everybody does it differently, and there's no good, no bad. This is just my personal preference. And I just stick the last items to the page. And I've also found this other quote. And that's it. And now it's time to write the dates. And I always like to pre-write it with pencil, so I can still make mistakes. And then I can also calculate like how large I need to letter or where I need to place it. And with ink, yeah, you can't remove it anymore, so that's why I always use pencil. And after I'm happy with the lettering, I draw it over with ink. And what I also like to use is to make some parts of the letters like thicker, so it looks a bit more like calligraphy or like hand lettering with a brush pen. And what I do for that is that I always make the downstrokes of the letters, I make them thick. Because that's also when you calligraphy or you do hand lettering with a brush pen, then you also put more pressure on the downstrokes, so yeah, that always becomes thicker. And this is the end result of the spread, and I hope you enjoyed watching the process. And if you have any questions, please feel free to ask in the comments. I also want to thank you for watching, and I hope to see you next time. Bye bye!